Welcome everybody, it's Riplak, and today I have a different kind of interview for you. This one has something to do with forgiveness, drug addiction, recovery. Of course we talk about music, but this is an interview that I bet none of you would have ever thought I would have done with this person. All right, what up, everybody? This is a Four Words podcast. Today we have Coach Chuck in the building. Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
What's up, man? It's Coach Chuck, coming straight out of Wisconsin. Home ground is Milwaukee, but I live up north a little bit now. Formerly known as Double C, fun guy, old school underground rapper from 101st Airborne.
All right, welcome. And what made you begin music?
I've always been a musical person. Music has been a major part of my life and still is. So growing up, Dad always had old records on. Mom was an old school hippie, was at Woodstock, So with music being around me the whole time, I just gravitated towards having a musical influence in my life. And honestly, it just fell in my lap. Good friends with Kane from 101, really good friends with him. And I used to mess around and freestyle at underground raves to old school drum and bass and jungle music, which is really fast paced and it's a lot of scat words and he sat me down one day. He was writing for his album and was like, hey, write 16 bars once. He was like, I've seen you freestyle like that. Write 16 bars once. All you got to do, just rhyme it at the end of it, do what you want. And I think we were smoking a little weed and I sat down, I wrote 16 bars and had to be like a half an hour. And he was like, rap that to me. I was like, all right. And next thing I know, he was like, okay, you're coming to the studio with me. We're putting this down. And I hit the ground running. I think I went to the studio that day. He told AK, hey, this dude wrote this in a half an hour. AK was like, word? All right. Here's a piece of paper. Go write another one. Here's your topic.
Yeah.
And I think I ended up on like 6 or 7 songs on Kane's album. I've always been a goofy individual, so we were doing skits. Like my brain just all of a sudden would be like, hey, what if we do this? And they were like, run with it. So that's how Jim Dipshit was born.
Hell yeah. So I met no. Hell no. Yeah, I met you through those guys. We were gonna sign a contract with AK, and I know AK and I spoke about this a little bit. And we came out to that show, and that's the only time I met you. So we've only spoken for around like a minute total in our lives. And there's a reason, there's a reason. I mean, we had the strongest beef that I've had with anybody in music. And so we kind of took off from that show mad as hell. And like, since you and Kane were there, we just went after everybody that was at the show, which turned into a whole takeover versus 101 beef.
And I don't even remember the diss you guys said to us. I don't even know if my name was mentioned in it.
I think it was.
Yeah, if it was like something just small and minimal. Mm-hmm. But watching your previous ones, you were talking to Khan, where he was like, you know what, you start it with the boys, you get it from everybody.
Right.
And it was like that mentality back then.
Well, we didn't really know each other either, so it was kind of all out, It
was like they said, what? Okay, hold on. That's just, I think that was part of the culture of underground hip hop back then too. We were talking about it too on the good old SoundClick days, man.
Oh yeah.
What? You want to get on my song? No? Okay, I'm gonna diss you.
Right. And like we're younger and crazier and everything, man. And like.
Right. I thought about this question since you messaged me, and the only way I could think about anything I said about anybody in any of my diss songs, because I was known to be the guy to, if it shouldn't be said, it's probably going to come out of Double C's mouth. Mm-hmm. And it was simply because I was already in my addiction in that days, and I didn't give a damn about myself. So why would I give a damn about anybody else and what's going to come out of my mouth and what is going to be the consequences or repercussions of what comes out of my mouth?
Right.
You know,
And yeah, it was definitely something that crossed the line, like in the most major way.
oh
And
yeah,
like I went in on AK because I didn't know you really. You know what? I didn't even know you honestly, but I went in on AK like, and I hit that studio. I was pacing, going crazy in the booth, but like there was literally only like one way I would have forgave you, and it was what you sent me in a message years later. So I found out about filtered messages on Facebook, and you don't even know about this, but that's why it took me a long time to respond to your message later. But I found filtered messages from like years, and yours was in there, and it was already like, I don't know, a couple years old, a few years old, and you would apologize because you told me, you know, you understood what you did wrong, but you said it was because you were addicted to drugs, and
yeah,
that hits home with me because my mom battled addiction, and when she left us for drugs and did all the other stuff, you know, like I know that wasn't her. Like it truly wasn't her. She didn't have that heart. Like the drugs and forgiving her made me become very close to her before she passed away, and I wouldn't trade those years for anything. So basically, when I know people that get addicted and they do something, I basically I hope they get help, but I can't really like mess with them until they do because that's not them.
yeah.
And like, so yeah, I forgive you on that. And like, I really, really respect that you got clean and doing what you're doing, you know,
Yeah.
like that's huge.
I mean, and I remember sending that message out. I had already had some clean time in me, you know. I was I don't talk about the program I work. I'm gonna say that right around like what I do for my recovery. There's traditions in play, you know. I maintain my anonymity for that structure, but at the same time, I am not an anonymous person. I don't care who knows I'm an addict or not, because I live by the simple fact of I need to show the world that some of us do turn around and some of us do make it,
I love
you
that.
know. But that message came as a part of me working my actual recovery system, you know, making those amends to the people of the past. And I held on to that one for a while. I'm like, you know, I don't know how I was talking with my sponsor about it. I'm like, I don't know how he feels about this. I don't know that, you know, this could bring up some old issues. And, you know, there's that clause. You make the indirect amends if it's going to harm the person or others. Well, sat and battled with it. Is this going to cause more harm, or do I make that indirect amends of just living a better life? And my sponsor was like, you know what? Chalk that one up, pray on it, think about it. You make that decision. No one else can do that for you. And I went, I got to be a man, type it
That's,
out.
that's grown man shit, man. Like, and I, only reason, like I said, I was in filter messages. I didn't even know where it existed for years. So I
Yeah.
didn't even ignore it. But like, man, like even just seeing it, I was like, that's big, you know?
Yeah.
And then I was kind of like, man, I thought about it, and then I was thinking about it, and I was like, all right, like you're still good friends with AK, and I know AK is a good guy, and I was like, I just hit you up. I hit him up first because I was like, man, I don't know, like, do you think he would actually do the interview? But I mean, it'd be good to just, you know, I especially just I love the success story of you getting clean. So could you kind of go through like what you do now and like just kind of the
Yeah.
process?
Um, I attend meetings now. I talk to my sponsor. It is a 12-step fellowship, so we can do what we call working the steps. I got this like workbook that asks you questions, and you know it's a never-ending cycle. You start at step 1, you answer all the questions, you get all the way up to step 12. You get done with that last question in step 12, you go back to the first question of step 1 and just start working it. Um, a lot a lot of it has to do with the firm belief that the drugs are just a symptom of my problem of addiction. That addiction can manifest in every way, shape, or form of my life in different avenues. We can transfer our addictions into caffeine, nicotine, women, shopping, the, the gym.
I
You
see
know,
that.
that's mine now. Is I dove into that gym life. I did so much damage to my body that I need to correct some things. But it definitely got to a point for me too where it was unhealthy. Like I was in the gym way too much.
Mm,
I was getting crabby if I couldn't get to the gym. I had a hernia surgery, and my wife at the time, she was still going to work out. And I can remember being in the chair, like not able to move. And she's got her gym bag, and she's like, I'm going to the gym. And one day I looked at her and I was like, well, it must be fucking nice. And I'm like,
yeah.
whoa, hold on. Like that one right there hit me. And I'm like, why am I getting mad at her? Because she's still going with doing what she loves. And I was like, yep, cross addiction right there. So what I do now is I work a recovery program, not just staying sober, not just staying clean. If I want to recover, I need to peel off those layers of the onion and get down to the root of the problem, which is me, my thinking, my past traumas, all that stuff. I think it was the Soul True podcast where you were talking about the mental health.
Uh-huh.
I dived big into that.
Yeah.
I work my other job as a peer support specialist is at a drug and alcohol rehab center, which is a part of mental health, substance abuse disorder. The DSM-5 categorizes that as a mental health disorder. So that touches my soul. When I was watching you two talk about that, I was like,
Yeah.
all right, man, that hit me. Like, I also do a lot with suicide surviving because that's what led up to my journey in addiction and recovery was the fact that I couldn't even do that right, man.
Yeah.
But I also look at it like it won my time. I'm here for a reason, you know.
Well, I'm
I
glad you're
had
here.
to, I had to fail at that so that I could be here to do what I do now.
That's good. I'm glad you're helping other people too.
Yeah.
And that's the thing with like Soul True and I is we had such different situations with our moms with mental health, and my mom turned to drugs, and even learning through NAMI, just talking to them, like learning about all the people that turned to drugs and alcohol.
I I got a funny story about that. My mom and my dad divorced and went to rehab in 1988 when I was 8 years old. I grew
Oh,
up. I actually grew up in recovery. My dad, when he picked me
mm,
up for like the weekends, we'd go to recovery functions, and I'd be like 10 years old running around in the churches and getting crazy on the dance floors, and like everybody around me was in recovery, but it still didn't stop me from going out and once I got a little older and having my own battles.
yeah. Wow.
Um, and now I lost my dad to cancer in 2009, and that spiraled like
No,
that right
man.
there. Boom! Like I hit it hard. The year before that, I lost my cousin to an addiction-based suicide, and
Wow.
my dad and my cousin were, man, we were tight. We worked at the moving company together. We lived in a two-bedroom apartment. Me and my cousin shared a freaking bedroom the size of a jail cell. We had like bunk beds at 18 and 19 years old. Like
Man,
we were with each other. Those two right there took me down. Like
that's a lot.
I acted a fool.
Yeah, that's a
Like
lot.
everybody in recovery is at my dad at hospice, and I'm looking around the room going, there ain't nobody at the house. I jumped in the car, went stole all of his pills because I didn't know what to do. Like I needed to numb that pain. Um, so this time around, and I put my mom through a whole different kind of hell for years after that. My mom was afraid every time the phone rang when she went to bed because she thought she was getting that call. Either it was going to be me at a precinct or somebody from a precinct calling her, telling her I'm not here no more.
Yeah.
So when she finally got that call from me in the psych ward, like that weight was lifted off her. And especially with her being in recovery, that was my one blessing, because my mom came and saw me and she's like, you know what? You've been through this. You know what you need to do. Everything you've done, all the money, all the pills, everything you've stolen, all the lies you've told, done right now. You get clean, you stay clean this time around, we're good. And that right there was one of my biggest motivations.
That's
Was, man, I saw the disappointment in her face, but at the same time I saw the hope in her eyes.
good. That's awesome.
I hit the ground running after
How,
3 days. Man, after, I do got to tell the one story that's kind of funny is, you know, you're kind of messed up with drugs and like past traumas when you go into a psych ward for detox, and they held all coma you for 3 days because you're screaming in your sleep, keeping the rest of the patients awake.
oh man.
Like, you got to be a certain kind of messed up to disturb the patients on a psych ward floor. That's the definition of insanity. And, you know, as we say, when we're beaten, we become willing. Yeah, well, I was pretty beaten, so it was time to get that willingness out.
Man, it sounds like you went through a lot.
In the end, yeah, the end of it was extremely terrible. Like, I had a great time becoming a drug addict. I ain't even gonna lie. I had a blast some days. I mean, I lived through underground rave culture with all the hallucinogenics. I grew up on the street, so we did a lot of the freaking smoking weed and drinking at an early age. A lot of house parties back in the cities I lived. Man, we had a great time. But the problem is I got that little switch in my brain that it flipped, you know, and it control. I can take any substance and just take it to the max.
Yeah.
You know, I'm one of those rare addicts where they always ask you, what's your drug of choice? I didn't have one. My drug of choice was more. Whatever it was, give me more. And in the end, it was a combination of a couple substances that just took over my life, you know. And I ain't afraid to say what it is. People look at me crazy, and I work at the drug and alcohol rehab, and I don't do it for validation. I do it to show them, hey, while I might not have been a user like you, this is what I did. And people are like, damn, like, we used to take Xanax, Percocets without the aspirin in it, and a muscle relaxer called Soma. We take those 3 pills, crush them up, dump an 8-ball of Coke on top of it, mix it all together, start ripping lines. And then
What did that do to you?
Man, it was numb.
I mean, that's a different kind of high. Holy shit.
Talk about numb, but energized, focused. Like, it was, it just, yeah, there's no way to describe it. Just numb. Just numb and energized.
Man.
Then on top of it, I'd smoke some weed. I used to take my mom's morphine pills, scratch off the casings, and they were the gel form, so you couldn't like shoot them up or you couldn't like sniff them. But I found out if you chopped it up really thin, really fine with a razor blade, put a little bit of that on some weed, smoke some morphine weed, fuck, dude, that would bring me down. All fun and games till you stop your heart, though, children. Don't do drugs.
Yeah. How long have you been clean?
Funny timing about this podcast right here. On Thursday of this week, August 26th, I will have 5 years clean.
Nice. Hell yeah. I want everybody to drop a congratulations on this video too, because that is awesome. That's hard too.
It's been a struggle.
It's
can't
be easy.
Road. So
that can't be easy, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just good to kind of be able to put something like that behind us, and just the forgiveness is amazing, man. Like, and especially since we both still got a lot of the same friends like out there in the music industry, you know.
Yeah. Chris, I'm gonna be honest, man. AK and Kane, when I got bad, they stopped messing with me. Like, they were like, all right, we love you, but we're gonna love you from a distance, homie. You're getting reckless. Like, we can't have that in my life. Kevin was starting a family. AK
Mm.
was, you know, on AK's things, and like they were like, you need to go over there. Like, we're good. You get yourself right.
Unfortunately,
And
I've had to do that with people too.
you know, of all people, it was actually AK's wife who watched my journey and reached out to me one day and was like, I'm proud of you.
Good.
Like, legit, I'm proud of you. And then AK started messaging. We started talking. Kane started messaging. We started talking. And it was one event that brought us all back together. And they were able to see. And I'm going to be honest, man, I tried everything under the sun to get out of that event. And that was Kane's wedding. Um, he, he invited me and my wife out there. She was my fiance at the time. And I was at a hotel. It was, you know, this, that. And I'm like, I don't got money. AK's wife's like, okay, here's your hotel room. I'm like, oh, I'm like, there goes that excuse.
Yeah,
Let me think here. I mean, they were legitimate excuses, but at the same time, I was trying to use it to get out because I was nervous. And every single one, there was a solution. I don't got gas money. What's your PayPal? I'm like, well, all right, this is happening. I guess just jump in the car, drive, get it in. And you know what? That weekend kind of showed. I feel like that weekend showed them that I'm not that same. I'm still me, but I'm back to the me that drew them in the first place,
okay, yeah,
and not the me that pushed them away.
nice. Yeah, AK's wife's definitely a good person too. I know she checks up on me every now and then.
I'm gonna say it flat out. AK's wife is a rare breed and a one of a kind human being, and that woman will forever have my love, my heart, my soul. I thank that woman so much.
Yeah,
She has been a rock in my side in my recovery,
that's
just like
awesome.
me. And you know what? She was with me through my ex-wife and the trauma there. She watched me jump into a relationship with the woman that is my wife, voiced her opinions, and the minute she met my wife, hugged her, loved her, and those two talked. Like she realized, you know, this isn't a bad thing. And she's the type of person that she helps my wife too. Like she's just
That's awesome.
so if
Super
you're seeing
caring.
this, I love you.
Yeah, Carrie.
Rah, more than Carrie.
Yes. This is the Carrie episode. Next, I'll get her on. No, get her on the little interview. Um, okay. I mean, that pretty much like covers that. We can get back to the fun stuff though, if you want to talk a little bit about music. Did you do a lot of shows?
I used to do quite a bit of shows. And there's a woman I'm not sure if you know about. I've been meaning to tell you, check her out. If reach out to her, she does a little podcast of her own. MC Sprite, that girl got me on so many shows locally when 101 wasn't messing with me, or when I was being pig-headed and stepped out on my own. You know, if I wasn't doing a show with AK and Kane or doing a show at 101, I was in this collective called the Midwest Connection, and MC Sprite would be like, "Hey, dude," she saw some raw talent in me and was like, "Dude, come here. I got a set for you. You got 15, 20 minutes. Okay, cool. Next weekend, hey, you're coming here. Hey, this club does a showcase every time. We want you here." You know, so Green Bay, Amro, Wisconsin, all over basically. I was getting some stuff pop my way. And then I'd still mess around with Kane and AK because 101's my roots, man. I never really signed a contract, but from day forward, I was always like, dude, these are my homies, these are my friends. I'm 101 for life. Like, I spent many a time in the studio. Um, we had some major things going on, and it seemed like every time something was about to happen, chuck the fuck up. You know, we did the 1848 collective, recorded every song. That was a killer. That was a killer group, man. That was. If you look at the dynamic of who was all involved with that, that was pretty big. Well, I can remember one show. I don't feel like going. I'm gonna get fucked up. I bailed on a show. Another show. I got so fucked up I forgot my lines. Like
Oh
I
yeah.
that was the number one thing that brought me down. Is I'd go to shows, I get so messed up I couldn't perform.
Mm.
Then it started to be okay. We got to make sure Chuck performs first. Get him in, get him on the stage right away. And once you become unreliable in this business, it's
Oh
over.
yeah. Yeah.
It's over. Like I don't care how
Yeah.
talented, I don't care how much of a raw flow or your beats are. You're unreliable.
Hmm.
You're done.
I've
And
gotten
that,
way more strict with it as time
yeah,
goes on, and you get, because it takes so long to build that reputation, and it takes a second to tear it down. If I got people I'm hooking up with this and that, and they're not reliable, that's coming back on me.
yeah,
So if people like screw up once now, I'm like, nah, man.
yeah. And even now, I still do write. I still, you know, I notice I still do poetry, but my poetry always it's this weird little habit from rapping so long. When I write poetry, it's usually in 16 lines, and even if there's
Yeah.
multiple, it's like two or three 16 lines, and I'm like, man, that rapper gene is
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, it's
It's
tough.
in there.
Yeah.
But a lot of what I write about now is recovery based, is my story, my struggles. I use that as a form of therapy to get that message, get that stuff out.
I
And
tried to do that.
and it's funny because um, there's recovery rap out there. I didn't even know about it till I got clean. But there's a couple people that do some pretty big recovery rap. One of them, like, if you know him and you look into like his YouTube catalog and some of his stuff, you're like, yep, big time. And he does a lot for the recovery community. That's Macklemore, of all people, man. That dude lays it all out on some tracks. From his story of getting clean, his relapse, being in the spotlight and getting clean. I mean, if you listen to the song "Starting Over," man, that takes guts to make a song like "Starting Over" and put it out in the world with the following and the fan base you have.
Yeah, I haven't heard it.
Man, that's one to check out. There's another guy coming out from Massachusetts area, I believe, out there, northeast. His name's Kalichi. He's got two tracks, Drug Addiction Part 1 and Drug Addiction Part 2, like 8-minute long story tracks of his battle with addiction. And that'll bring tears to your eyes. He starts it off 4 minutes, just straight flow of the, you know, the negative, the depression, the dirt, the grime of the life, and then hits you with the positive, the look, that was the past, this is now. Um, and there's some other artists out there. B
Isn't
Rain.
isn't NF? Wasn't he recovering?
NF, not so much recovery. NF actually started as a Christian rapper on the Christian circuit, but he lost his mom to an overdose.
Okay.
Very passionate about, very passionate about it. And man, I can admit, I hated NF when he first came around, but I listen to his stuff now. And if you can flow like that, keep substance like that, and not drop a single swear word,
Yeah.
man, come on. I can't even talk for 2 minutes without dropping a swear word.
I know.
let
I
alone make a 5-minute rap song. Nope.
Yeah, no, I cuss all the time.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of my I mean, my look at my name. Chuck rhymes with fuck. You know how
Yeah. So what was double C? Because you're kind of all the way full circle back to double C with Coach Chuck now.
it's funny you said that because I was just talking with my mentor in the gym, the guy who took me under his wing. You know, he was my coach for a while. I used to travel to see him. When I became a coach, he kind of took me under his wing. You know, I modeled a lot of my coaching style off of him, the guy who trained me, and my wife, who's also a fitness coach. Double C has been with me my whole life. I ran the streets. I was involved in some, let's just call it organizations. And my name back then was Kukui, which, if anybody who knows Spanish, you know who the Kukui is. He's the boogeyman. He's the ghost.
Ah.
And it's spelled Cucuy, two C's in there. I have two C's branded in my chest from that name. And then when we living in Plymouth, you know, living in northern Wisconsin area with AK and Kane, mostly Kane, me and AK pretty much had that musical, didn't hang out too much, but me and Kane were really, really tight. We had our group of individuals, you know, all these wannabe little, I shouldn't say wannabe because we actually were kind of hard. We handled our business, but we had this group called the Caucasian Mafia. And my name was Double C Crazy Chuck.
Okay.
I've always been that one to be a little off my rocker. Like, I was the one I was the joker. And everybody knew, though, if Chuck stopped joking around and that smile turned to a straight face, something's going to happen, you know. And me being from a big city, I love messing with those country boys, because you get those little hard country boys that are like, I won every fight I was ever in. Well, you were probably only in 6 fights in your entire life, and you really ain't fought nobody with no substance. I'm from a part of town where 6 fights was a month, and I've been knocked out. I ain't afraid to get hit. I'm gonna lay it all out. So, and then, you know, I went back to, I had the name change. When I left 101, I kind of let Double C go, and I had the name change.
And what does that come from then? Fungi.
Fungi? Everybody knows fungi is mushrooms.
Right.
That pays tribute to, I love my hallucinogenic. That was, in my fun days, it was, if it was going to bring my mind out of my body for a little while and open my brain into different dimensions, areas of thoughts, and self-exploration, I was going to do it. Acid, ecstasy, mushrooms, AMT, DMT, ayahuasca, peyote, embalming fluid, you know, anything that was going to make me trip, I was about it. That was back in the salvia days. Like, you could go into like the head shops and buy the salvia. And I used to run around with a pipe and salvia all the time and take those little 5-minute trips. Nitrous too, getting the wah wah wah, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Everybody knows the wah 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 wah.
And then and then you're just like, oh.
Yeah, it's like right now I'm getting my teeth fixed. It took many years, and I had a lot of damage to my grill, and I finally found a dentist that actually came through a client at the gym that took my case on pro bono and is fixing my mouth for free for me. Said flat out, you got 2 jobs where you help yourself. Maybe it's time somebody helps you.
Nice.
And I'm like, all right. And they had to pull like 6 teeth at once.
Oh wow.
And they hit me, and I was like, man, I got nervous, because I'm like, they're gonna ask me, they're gonna be like, do you want some nitrous? You know?
Yeah.
When I passed, I'm like, ooh,
yeah.
I do. No, I'm good. And I took it like a man, took the shots, even told them, look, I'm recovery. Don't give me no painkillers. Ibuprofen and Motrin, ibuprofen and Tylenol. That's all I need. But that initial visit was kind of funny too, because they were like, well, we sedate you with nitrous. Do you know what nitrous oxide is? And I'm like, motherfucker, I can get you a tank still. What you need? I still got a hookup in Green Bay at the baking store. I can get you tanks of it.
Man.
But so Double C, and then so I got clean. I was 170 pounds when I got clean. Stickly. I'm 6'4". I got no business being 170 pounds. And I live by that stigma they talk about. You know, you put down that spoon, you pick up that fork. And I ballooned up to 250. And then I started, of all things, disc golf. Disc golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, walking around up down hills that dropped me
Hmm.
down. And I tried to get in the gym a couple of times. I lacked that motivation, that self motivation. I quit on myself about a month into it, and then my wife found this. It's a gym up here, Wisconsin area. There's a bunch of them around here. One in Minnesota. It's a place called Fire Fitness. Brought me in, and it's half an hour long, kind of like HIIT training, boot camp style. You're not going for reps. You're going time sets, and you got a coach up there blowing a whistle, showing you what to do. They pick your workouts for you. And I fell in love. I'm like, this is what I need. And I started to get back in some good shape. And my wife has always been into fitness. She's a certified nutritionist, she's a certified personal trainer. She's also been a fitness coach longer than me. And some stuff went down at the gym with some people, and opportunity to coach. I just put my word out there, been like, I think I could do this. You know, if you guys ever are needing a coach, hit me up. Well, some shit went down, and 2 weeks later, the owner of the gym was like, can you go to training tomorrow?
Nice.
And it happened that, you know, I had a hernia surgery, and the day I got released on my restrictions from my hernia surgery is the day he wanted me to go to training. And I'm like, well, there's a sign. Yep, let's do it.
Yep.
And Coach Chuck was born. I went from the gym here locally. Now I coach at pretty much the top gym for Fire Fitness. Like, I'm up in the big leagues now.
Nice.
You know,
That's awesome.
me and my wife have made a name for ourselves in the system. She went out and started coaching for a lady that opened up a gym from the ground up, and is helping make the name for them down there. And they took me up to the Valley, man. And Valley's the belly of the beast for fire fitting. Like,
Oh
we're
yeah.
all over. Like, I've got a fire 10 minutes one way, 10 minutes the other. So you're fighting. You got to be on the top of your game to make sure your clients are coming to you. And
Nice. Yeah.
the team I'm involved in up there, like, we're number one. Like, we're top. Like, we're no nonsense. The guy who actually trained me and trained all of us coaches left the gyms that he was working at to come work by us. So it's me and him.
Nice.
So,
See, I
and
got a problem. Like I live like right here. It's like right over there. There's a gym. And then
yeah,
right over here there's a gym. And then like right in here in the middle, there's a donut shop. And why do I keep ending up there? I'm getting
yeah,
fat. No, actually I've been fat. But I
yeah,
gotta get in the gym, man. I need some kind of motivation.
yeah,
But
yeah.
I gotta
That,
figure
that
that
place,
out.
yeah, that place that it provides the motivation, man. It was great. And I hit the ground running, man. Coach Chuck was born. I've been doing it over a year, and I love it. But it was funny because I didn't even realize the double C, the coach Chuck, until later, and he pointed it out, and I'm like,
Yeah.
man, double C just follows me. Like, it's meant.
Yo.
I'm gonna get some license plates that say DUBLC.
Yeah. Yeah, I think maybe I do need like a trainer or something at some point because I used to be good at going, but man, it's been a while. I'm active at work, but so I'm not gonna die yet, but getting
Yeah,
there.
but and you know, I use my discipline in the gym in everyday life. You know, I wouldn't have that discipline in the gym like I do if I wouldn't have got that discipline from recovery.
Yeah.
That's a blessing and one of the things that's helped. I wish I would have kept that discipline in music.
Yeah, I mean, I don't
You
know.
know,
I got
it is what it is.
right. Would have,
uh,
could have.
so all this from one question of, have you done shows?
Yeah, have you done a bunch? What would have been your favorite show?
Oh man. Honestly, the 101 reunion show. And for one reason alone. I was back with my boys. I was clean, and they asked me to come back on stage with them and perform some songs. And actually, they had a song called Better Man that like spoke to me all about being a better person. And I actually wrote 16 bars when I was sitting in the transition house before I went to rehab to that song, to that beat. And I still had that. And I remember I sent it out in like poem form to AK. And he's like, "You're performing that song. You're performing that verse." And I had, I'm gonna be 100% honest. I had that on a piece of paper. Like, there's a video of me. You see me with a piece of paper in my hand and a microphone in the other. I've never done that. I've always had my stuff memorized.
Yeah.
I rapped that verse. Everybody that was there, clapping, screaming, standing up, and that feeling of feeling that feeling and not being on any substance.
Oh man.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that hit me. I'm like, it just hit me in a way that nothing else musically has.
Yeah, that feels good.
Yeah,
I love the stage.
yeah. I love the booth. I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah,
I
that's what you love the best.
I love the
Yeah.
ah, something about creating music from watching it being born from thoughts in your mind of how you want to be, thoughts in your mind of what you want to say, being birthed through your equipment onto paper, then watching that transition of melting together and coming together as one and making a finished product,
Yeah.
like being like, boom, we did this, we made this. Like,
I
this is
love it too. Like I love the booth, but like as I always say, the stage is still my favorite. Like no other place in the world. I do love that booth lets you get it out though. Like initially. Like when I was beefing with you guys, like I did that fun guy disc. I was like, all right, I'm going. I was pissed off and I was like, don't stop it for the hook. I'm gonna keep going. I just went through that whole thing, man. But like it's that energy though. Like
yeah,
it was the disc sessions just on whoever I was beefing with. Like those were the ones where I was just letting it all out. But like I know what you mean though. Even just any lyrical song or anything, man, you put that to the beat and you actually get to hear how it sounds. It's awesome.
yeah, yeah. And I mean, I'm the type of person that I'd rather have my radio, I'd rather have YouTube open, I'd rather have Spotify on than a TV. Like,
Yeah.
music's my life. I mean, it's not even now, and I've always been surrounded by music. And I grew up with so many different styles of music between my father and my mother. Um, the influences that hit me, that when I started doing it, it was just natural. But I
Who were
mean,
your biggest influences music wise, like big musicians or art or rappers or
um,
anything?
so the first music I remember hearing in my life is Pink Floyd. Pink Floyd was
Yes.
Pink Floyd was one of my dad's favorite. The first song I know I ever heard in my life was Pink Floyd "Time" off of Dark Side of the Moon. And my dad was an addiction. My dad was an addiction at that time, and one of his favorite things to do was watching me in my little playpen. And when all the clocks were going off, he turned his record player down real low. And the minute all those alarms came on, he'd crank it. And I'd jump in my crib or I'd jump in the playpen. And he'd laugh because he thought it was the funniest thing in the world just to like see my face, the shock on my face.
Mm,
And so I remember as I grew up and through all that stuff is Pink Floyd Dark Side of the Moon was constantly going. My mom being a hippie, and I say that with the real sense of the word, like she's from the 60s, like a hippie, like graduated high school in 69,
yeah.
took the trip out to New York and went to Woodstock, which I've heard some stories about my mom. I didn't think I should have. Some stories I don't ever want to think about again.
Yeah.
Just some stuff you don't want to hear about your mom.
Yeah.
But that Grateful Dead, Jefferson Airplane, a lot of those, The Who, Hendrix, Santana, a lot of those influenced me earlier. But my dad my dad was also the type that Pink Floyd would be on. Then next thing you know, new record would drop because we had that dropping. You could put a bunch of 45s on there, and like one song would play, and the next record would drop and start over. It's kind of like your playlist, only on actual
Yeah.
radio. All of a sudden, Whitney Houston would come on. Okay, next record drops. We're listening to Double Dutch Bus, that old DC, the Double Dutch Bus. Like he would listen to like that stuff. Beastie Boys, Run
Yes.
DMC. Then you go back to like Black Sabbath. And all of a sudden, like John Denver and Hank Williams and Willie Nelson, Waylon Jennings will pop on. And then some smooth jazz. Like, I don't know any of the artists. I'll listen to some smooth jazz. But at the same time, I was like, what the hell? Why are you listening to Kenny G?
Yeah. The hell.
Having all of that in, like even with the Run DMC, the LL Cool J, having that, Beastie Boys, having that hit me at an early age. I remember hearing that and that sparking my interest. Like, I like that kind of music. Like, what is that? So when I started to develop my own musical taste, it was very much a hip hop orientated. And actually I can't even say hip hop, it was rap. First CD I ever owned, well, actually was a tape. I know, I'm old. I had a tape.
Same.
Was Cypress Hill.
Yes.
Yeah. The one with pigs and Kill a Man. That was the first rap album project that I ever owned. And a few years later, man, the myth, the legends of Wu-Tang hit my eardrums. And man, I was very much an East Coast person. Eric B., Rakim, Wu-Tang, Biggie, Big Daddy Kane. Like, I got into the East Coast, and then I'd come visit my cousin, and my cousin was all Spice One, NWA,
Yeah.
like, yeah.
I was all West Coast, man.
Sitting around, man. He loves some Spice One.
Oh, yeah.
One. And I'm like, ah! I was like,
yep.
Yes,
I still listen to Spice One, man.
I do too. Like, I still listen to it.
Yeah.
But, and then growing up where I grew up, and that underground Midwest, when I was in high school, like, that hit, and I was like, just that grimy, that do or die, psychodrama, crucial conflict, Dayton Family, like that Midwest underground grimy flows. Like, I remember getting the Wicked Streets of Shy CD. It was a compilation with a bunch of different artists underground artists out of Chicago, and like that street
so good.
Rap, I loved it.
That old Twista too.
Yeah, old Twist and Do That. He was on there, or I think it was Adrenaline Rush was the song he picked for the Wicked Streets of Shy.
Yeah.
The band Dayton Family. If you don't know Dayton Family, a lot of their stuff is still on. You can go on YouTube. I'm surprised they didn't blow up, but I think it was because at one given time, every member was like in prison.
Yeah. I think that's true. I think that's right.
Yeah, I think they could never really get a deal because they could never really stay out of prison.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I think they were doing stuff at the Gathering and stuff like that too. So they were right on there, man. They were right about to get a lot bigger, but yeah, it was probably that inconsistency or something. I don't know. I don't want to assume, but yeah.
Yeah, but man, that was my shit. And now it's a Struggle Jennings, Jelly Roll. I'm into that Nashville song. Like,
yeah. I had an interview with Slim American before this last job I took, but it was
Yellow Wolf, that Ritz, a lot of that southern fried hip hop, man. I love it. If I'm not listening to that, I find myself listening to that early 2000s Rhyme Sayers or some of the older Strange music. I still listen to a lot of underground. I used to always bring these obscure artists I would find to AK, and like, dude, listen to this guy. Like, there's a There's a rapper out of Sweden, amazing artist. His name is Promo, and used to run with a crew called the Loop Troop Rockers. This dude, you look at him, he's got dreadlocks down to his ass, like this big gangly beard that's dreadlocked,
Oh yeah.
but an amazing flow and like substance, and like he's part of that graph writer like movement over there. So it's like a pure hip hop form, and I loved him. And then there's a girl, MC Melody. She's from Amsterdam, but if you listen to her flow, straight 90s New York sound, like rap, like you listen to her and you'd be like, oh, that's a New York chick. And then it's like, nope, she's from Amsterdam. It's like just mind blown how far and the universal language of hip hop has become.
Yeah.
But
I'll
if
have to
I'm
check
listening
that
to
out.
stuff, yeah, if I'm listening to stuff, 9 times out of 10, Jelly Roll or another guy I got into. I love him. Some people don't. Some people hate him. Tom McDonald.
I
Like
got a good friend that listens to him all the time. I haven't really got into him though.
I actually one of the last 2 shows I've been to was Struggle. I hit Kane up because I had nobody to go with me and it was at a bar. I took Kane out to see Struggle Jennings.
Yeah.
That was a great show. And Tom McDonald down in Milwaukee. I actually met Tom. Tom and Nova. Got a picture with him. Got some
Nice.
merch. Some people love him. Some people hate him. Some of his stuff I can take, but a lot of it I get into. I like that independent, you know, forget
Yeah.
the major labels. I'm gonna do it myself type of music.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Jelly Roll, definitely my top. I love some Jelly Roll.
Yeah, he's
stuff.
been messing with American now.
Yep.
So yeah.
Yeah, well, that's part of that crew, man. Struggle Jennings, Ritz,
Yep.
Jelly Roll, and Yellow Wolf have been together that's that Nashville, Alabama connection right there.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Good deal. So I don't really have a lot more to ask right now. I mean, I do think this was good. I love that we got to get together and kind of hash it out, you know.
Yep.
Probably a bit of a surprise to anybody because I didn't tell anybody this was happening except for AK. So yeah. Might have to clickbait it and put something stupid on the title or something. get people to think it's a big beef interview or something.
Hit him with that Dexter line. Surprise, motherfucker.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love what you're doing and everything. And again, congrats on being sober for 5 years on Thursday.
Thanks, man. I like that you're still involved in the business, helping artists still out there, man. I've been diving into it and watching some of the past stuff, and still working with Soul True. I can be honest, man. That Soul True interview, I mean, that hit. The stuff
Yeah.
you guys do the stuff you guys do for the mental health, and keep that up, man. People out there need us, especially for. I'm not trying to discredit feminists. Be warned, we need to get some of that message out to the guys. You know, it's all right to struggle with some mental health and still be a man. You know, just because you got some problems going on in your head and you need to talk about it doesn't make you less of a man. Sometimes asking for that help and getting that out makes you more of a man to deal with your problems. So
Well
I
put.
respect you, Soul True, anybody that gets involved with anything mental health like that, man. There's mad respect.
Thank you. And I appreciate you checking out the other interviews and everything and supporting.
Oh yeah.
There's gonna be plenty more.
Nice.
So yeah, I mean, take care, man. Keep doing what you're doing.
You too, man. Keep your head up, bro.
All right, thanks. Thank you. Talk to you later.